Hi everyone. Okay, sorry for the late upload. So today we are talking about, if you're A work, you're talking about Reeling for the Empire. Everyone doing A work today, do A work if you have only read um, Reeling for the Empire. If you have not read Station 11, there's no point in doing B work. You should just do the A work. I will make this announcement on the B work video as well. But today we are talking about Reeling for the Empire, and we are talking about author word choice. So we ask this question a lot in English classes, right? Like, why did the author use this word? And that's difficult to teach as a skill because there's always a different reason, right? Like, you choose a different word in a different situation for a lot of reasons, depending on what you're trying to do. So the way that this assignment works is I tell you what the author is trying to do, and then you try to trace like, okay, well, if this is what the author is trying to do, then how does this word choice help them to achieve their goal? So let's read these instructions really quick. Again, make sure you've read the first half of Reeling for the Empire before you do this. It will make all the difference. Also, you had a quiz on it, so go get your 100 on that quiz. And after you've taken your quiz and read the first half of the story, come back to your work. Okay, instructions. Read the following excerpts from Reeling for the Empire. For each excerpt, I have identified the main idea and the tone of the paragraph. For every highlighted word, you will explain how the word helps to achieve the main idea and tone. So let's look at this first paragraph, for example. This is like maybe the third or fourth paragraph in the whole story. If you've read the first half of the story, you now know that this is a story about young women who are offered jobs as silk reelers in the Japanese Empire. And instead of just like weaving silk like they expect they're going to be doing, they actually drink this tea that turns them into silkworms. So their bodies transform, and suddenly like thread spins out of their bodies, and they are actually like weird half human, half caterpillar people. And it's terrifying and not great. And they didn't know that would happen. So let's read this paragraph really quickly. I'll put it bluntly. We are all becoming reelers, some kind of hybrid creature, part kaiko, silkworm, caterpillar, and part human female. Some of the older workers' faces are already quite covered with a coarse white fur, but my face and thighs stayed smooth for 20 days. In fact, I've only just begun to grow the white hair on my belly. During the nights, during my first nights and days in the silk reeling factory, I was always shaking. I've never been a hysterical person, and so I first misread those tremors as mere mood. I was in the clutches of a giddy sort of terror, I thought. Then the roiling feeling became solid. It was thread, a color purling invisibly in my belly, silk. Yards and yards of thin color would soon be extracted from me by the machine. So she's explaining exactly what's happening to them, right? So I've given you the main idea and the tone right here. It's very important that you read this each time. So in this passage, Kitsune explains the horrifying bodily transformation that she and the other reelers are undergoing, but her tone is surprisingly calm, even scientific. The passage shows that Kitsune is observing her own trauma almost as an outsider. Perhaps this is the only way she can deal with what has happened to her. So if you notice, it doesn't like really sound like she's in a panic right here. She describes when she was in a panic, but she's not necessarily in that state right now, or her voice doesn't sound like that. So we want to look at these words that I've highlighted and see how does that word help create this idea of Kitsune as weirdly calm about a really scary, freaky thing. So, for example, in this first sentence, she says, I'll put it bluntly. I wrote as my response for how does this help build the main idea and establish the tone? How does this word help us do this? I said, Kitsune's use of the word bluntly shows that she's not going to shy away from what has happened to her. when people are highly emotional, they tend not to explain things very plainly. And we know this, right? Like if people are very emotional about things, they're like, and then this happened and it was awful, and this happened and it was terrifying, and blah, blah, blah. She's not doing that. She's being like, again, she says, I will put this bluntly, we're turning into silkworms. However, Kitsune seems removed from what is happening to her, able to explain the situation bluntly rather than in a panicky, highly descriptive way. So that's what I think the word bluntly is doing there. It's showing us that her tone is not one of panic and fear, rather it's one of like weird removal. She seems a little bit distant, and we might not know exactly why yet, but we can tell like she's strangely calm about this. Maybe not happy, but strangely calm. Okay, then we do another. So why does she use the words in fact? Again, this shows that Kitsune's tone is more scientific, less emotional. She's describing something so horrifying, sprouting hair and becoming part silkworm, but she treats it as a cold fact. She clearly isn't happy with what has happened, but the emotions of fear and panic have deadened. So it's like those feelings of fear have kind of gone away, and now she's just kind of like numb inside. And so she's describing things very factually, like, in fact, this is what happened. If she were still in that really like heightened emotional space, she would be like, oh, and then fur was growing from my body and it freaked me out and I hate it and I want to shave it off of me. No, she's not doing that. She's just saying very simply, in fact, that's what's going on. And we should notice that. That's an important part of the meaning of this passage. So you are going to do the same thing for misread and for solid. You'll fill in the answer here. The author uses the word misread because, and you want to tell me how this word misread in the paragraph helps to build this main idea and tone, this main idea of like Kitsune is looking at a horrifying situation from a very calm point of view because she's like, I know, it's almost like this is the only way that she can deal with something so upsetting. She has to like keep her distance from it. So how do the words misread and solid help the author get there? You'll do this same thing for 2 more paragraphs. They're also from Reeling. Again, for each of these, I have done examples. So I have filled these out. I would read through them because it'll give you a good idea of like what your answer should look like.
I'm here to disturb you. What's going on?
Mr. Maestri is here to distress me. Everyone say hi to Mr. Maestri.
Hello!
Hi, everyone.
Do your work!
Mr. Maestri, I'll be there in a second.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Yeah, make sure that you read through these. They will help give you an idea of how to do your work. Yeah, so really you only have to write 6 responses, but I want them to be detailed. I want them to be thoughtful. I want them to explain how this word helps the author build their main idea and establish tone. Best of luck. I hope you're enjoying this story so far. You'll read the second half of the story tonight and also take the quiz. That's what I've got for you right now. Good luck. Excited to see how you do on this. Bye, guys.